This video may or may not be an excuse to talk about a certain musician I really like a lot. At least I don't have to think about what music I want playing in the background for this video. There are millions of videos on what makes a good boss, what makes a good big boss, what makes a good swarm boss, what makes good boss music, same old. Don't make the attacks 50-50s. Don't make a boss harder by just increasing its damage. Don't introduce some stupid gimmick. Don't throw the player into a tiny room with a bunch of minor enemies and a staircase. No, this isn't about that. In fact, this video is actually opinionated, but whatever. I just want to talk about what I consider the perfect tempo of a final boss to be. And how will I do that? Well, with this handy-dandy track that has killed millions of rhythm game players worldwide. Flamewall by Camellia. Now, before I chop this song up into little bits, I really do recommend you to listen to this in its entirety first. 7 minutes of your time for what I consider an absolute godly song. My commentating over it will likely ruin the experience of hearing it for the first time. So please, seriously, listen to it on its own first. Now, I will chuck the link to it in the description, along with my Discord server, which you are legally required to join now. I would fake an article on gov.uk with inspect element, but I don't actually know the legality of doing that, so you're going to have to take my word. Finally, before I even cover anything, I do want to show you this graph so you can grasp my intentions. Excuse my terrible graph drawing, I made this in paint. Anyway, allow me to set the stage. This way you'll get the full effect. Imagine you've just played a tough game. 100, maybe even 200 hours into it, you have finally come up to the final boss door. You step in and it's silent. You cautiously walk to the center of the room and suddenly you're surrounded by flames. Heavy footsteps ring in your ears and you are reminded of the many you've slaughtered and bruised to get to this point. The trail of torment you left behind awakens your last battle and your foe is finally showing his face. The music kicks in. The build-up. A slow, unassuming introduction to both the song and the boss in question. Whether they emerge from the flames, the ocean, the void, who knows? This is their time to make an entrance, and grandiose is best. Now, the first string of attacks. These will simply warm you up. Very well telegraphed, and getting hit by them would be an insult to the hours you've put into this game thus far. Into the first intense bit. Whilst not on the level of Sans' first attack, this bit should put you in some danger and challenge you. You'll likely face this part of the fight a multitude of times, so it can't be forgettable. Unless you've intentionally done this throughout the game, you do not want to start off your fight to be a cakewalk. That undermines the omnipotence that a final boss represents. The moment they start trying to put their blade on you, it's already got to be somewhat tough. One important factor is that the song loops well too. If your boss fight is not completely choreographed, the song should always keep staying in its current stage until the player advances to the next, similar to how Just Shapes and Beats does it for their final fight, making sure that the transition into the final blow is perfect. Now, this first straight line will last for a while, and you'll find that whilst the difficulty stays consistent, the intensity of the song is increasing. This is because rather than the attacks becoming more difficult, your mental fortitude and concentration is starting to slip. You're gasping for air. You need just a moment to recollect your thoughts and take control back of the fight. As the music starts to wind down a little and you feel your mind slipping from the fight, the first break hits. With the boss visibly tired or injured, you feel almost a sense of accomplishment, leading you into a false sense of security. You know if you last just a little longer, it could already be over. And finally, it tunes into the break section. Deceivingly, it may be presented as though you've already won the fight, but don't let it trick you. A short but impactful flurry of incredibly difficult attacks hit. On a first encounter, they should leave you almost dead, but the attack shouldn't be so insanely hard that it just kills you then and there. You feel as though you've got a true taste of the opposition's potential, and if given the chance to muster that strength needed to barrage you for longer, you'll shortly become their next victim. Now you're welcomed with a long break. If it's a multi-phase fight, this is around the point where the first health bar has hit 0, and you're playing the cutscene to transition into the bigger problem. The boss here may burst out a few weaker attacks, but nothing that will be able to throw you off your stride. Once again, even leading you into the belief that it's almost over. As you feel the end of this long break coming to a close, you're almost aware now that this is not the end of the fight. The game and the boss have given you time to take a breather, get your head back in the game, but so has the boss too, and now you're both ready to take back to the stage. And yes, once again the music kicks in, but rather than intense, it's another incredibly slow build up for what's to come. I mean, in the case of a fire-based boss, which is what I would think matches this song well, you can almost feel the air around you getting warmer again. And here it is. This is the last break. Your last chance to breathe. If you don't give it all you've got now, it will be the end. And here we go, an incredibly intense build-up hits. Not only is this one difficult, this is leading up to the eclipse of the fight, and you can already start to feel the final burst of energy leave both you and the enemy. And this is it, everything you've got. The boss throws the entirety of its arsenal at you, whether it wants to use callbacks to previous enemies, friends, allies, opponents you've faced, you've seen, now is its chance. In a final burst of both your determination, you launch all that's left in you at the antagonist, and inversely, they do the same. One of you is going to die, and it is now or never. Finally, as the sun metaphorically begins to set, your rival falters, using one last little attempt only to fall from grace into a weaker and weaker state, until inevitably, you are the victor. Try all they might, you've got the consistency and experience of their attacks now that it may be hard, but it won't take you by surprise anymore. The boss fights to the end. He won't lose on his own terms, but by this point, the attacks are nothing but a final struggle. The fight is yours. And with that, you have won. I would say that the only real thing this song is missing is something similar to that of Supreme Calamitas' final closing theme, which is slow and somber, giving you that moment to reminisce on the journey you've been through to get here, and that, yes, it is finally over. Given that too, I'd say Omega Flowey, Supreme Calamitas, and, well, Boss, from Just Shapes and Beats, also display this graph very well. Maybe not precisely, but to each their own in a way that fits their bosses well. They are flawless final bosses, even though Supreme Calamitas isn't technically the final boss, but shut up. To highlight a unique thing I like about all three of those, Your Best Nightmare is a perfect track. The sections with the hearts, and the way the music changes in all of them, almost to represent the souls they inhibit, is perfect for the fight. Not only that, but the music loops well too. After 2 souls, the arm and break bits do actually change to become slightly more intense, representing your progression through the fight. And after 4 souls, the music changes once again to a more repetitive track, representing how Flowey introduces the usage of save files and time warping into the fight. But that final break, with the complete music change and the souls on your side, along with the fact that you're now being healed, it feels almost like the orchestra has gone from being on Flowey's side to yours. I know people love Sans' fight and Megalovania, and in my opinion, yeah, Megalovania is the better song. However, I do believe the context of Sans' fight is a lot of the reason people so dearly remember it. I mean, I don't blame you for feeling bad having wiped out the entire underground through that run, but in my eyes, Omega Flowey is just the better executed final boss. I won't talk about JSaB as much. To put it simply, the boss fight goes fairly normally, without a particularly special track. It's a good song, but it doesn't follow my principles. However, the boss does what no other boss has done before it. It creates an undodgeable attack, and also then kills you again when you try to do the classic "it's not over" revive sequence, which I think is an incredible fourth wall break from the developers. Finally, the friends you made in the journey mourn you, only to bring you back to life with the things you collected throughout the story of the game, bringing you back in a now invulnerable state. Then the amazing song "Till It's Over" by Tristan kicks in, and as one commenter points out, when you get revived and you're finally fighting back rather than just avoiding attacks, the music playing is no longer the boss's, it's yours. You become the final boss. And like I said previously, the game forces you to stay in sections until it can transition into the next one smoothly, which makes the fight just so much better. Supreme Calamitas, whilst not completely a final boss, shares the aforementioned traits. An amazing song, a fight that has a few break sections, and varying intensity. The one thing I love about Stained Brutal Calamity, however, is the fact that there is not really a good guy in this situation. Calamitas is only trying to stop you from getting yourself killed by, well, killing you first, but in a less painful way, so I guess she's not the worst. And the song presents that well. The song has opera-type lyrics in the background, which is the thoughts of the boss, questioning whether she should even be giving up her life to take you down, because truthfully, she doesn't want to. And alternatively, the song also has a section sung from the perspective of the player's thoughts, in which he talks about the mental torture the fight is putting him and her through, and the idea is that them fighting is only driving them both more insane, to the point that, really, nobody is the winner when it's over. Somebody will die, but both of them have driven themselves to insanity. And with that being said, that's all I am here to cover. Whilst not Camelia's best song, I think Flamewall is one of the best for people that aren't usually a fan of EDM. And I'd say it strongly represents what a good final boss should be like. Also the respective song to go with it. So, you game devs, you should get out there and start doing this, alright? Peace.